What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the City Life Project YouTube channel for yet another picks and predictions video. UFC Fight Night Allen versus Craig, the Bear Jew himself. Like, I'm not the only one who just thinks of, Inglourious Bastards when I hear that name, right? And gotta love Paul Craig. Gotta love middleweight Paul Craig. Is he a mythical creature like a six-pack Derek Lewis? Well, Derek Lewis let us down last time. Let's hope that this mythical creature in Paul Craig doesn't let us down this time. But we'll get to the main event later. We are going to run down from the prelims all the way to the main event here on this stream. We will be interacting with you guys in the live chat as well. But because this is a massive fight night card and because it's damn late Pacific time and even more late Eastern, we are going to tackle these in chunks, likely 4 fights at a time. We'll run them down. We'll highlight the fighters quickly. I'll give my opinion, and then we'll go back to the comments 4 fights in. But to start this out, we'll see who's in the chat. Rigo, what's going on, dude? Thank you so much for jumping in another stream here, even late at night. JL, man, you're amped up for that juicy main event. Hey, it's a Paul Craig fight, so it's basically a women's MMA fight. In the sense, flip a coin. Flip a coin. Because like even when he pulls guard, sometimes it's dicey, Brendan Schaub style, dicey, and sometimes it actually works. Like I will never be able to forget the way he trapped Jamal Hill, trapped his arms and just beat him up in the triangle choke. It was crazy. But yeah, Rigo, thank you so much for joining. Andrew B, it's good to see you as always, brother. And let's get right into it again. We'll get back to your guys' comments here in a sec. But let's start with the first fight on the card here. Charles Johnson against Rafael Esteban. Charles Johnson, 13-5. He is 2-3 in his last 5 fights on a 2-fight losing streak. And this one's pretty even here. He's the slight underdog at plus 120 up against, like I said, Rafael. He's Brazilian, so Rafael Esteban. Minus 145. He is the favorite. Undefeated 11-0. Charles Johnson, I guess UFC veteran at this point. Trains at St. Charles MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Tiger Muay Thai. 5 KO, TKO, 4 submissions, 4 decisions. 6-1 in the LFA, 2-3 in the UFC. And like I said, lost to Cody Durden, lost to Ode Osborne, beat Jimmy Flick, Zagla Zumagulov, and lost to Muhammad Mokaev, but outstruck him in that fight. Went on 2-fight win streak, 2-fight losing streak right now, but split decision, close decision to Ode Osborne. Lost to Cody Durden there. Look, he's a pretty damn good wrestler in Charles Johnson, and I'll give a couple more notes on him in a sec. But let's take a look at the undefeated fighter here in Esteban. 27 years of age, so he is younger. He's at a Nova Uno. 4 KO, TKO, 3 submissions, 4 decisions. So he's quite balanced, well-rounded so far in his pro MMA career. 1-0 in LFA, 1-0 in Contender Series. 17-3 was the record of the last guy he beat. 7-0 guy, 7-1, 9-5, 5-0, 6-1 when he was 4-0. So I like his resume. I like his development. Pretty well-rounded. But you know what? I'm going with Charles Johnson. I'm going with the underdog here. Plus 120 at the time of this recording and stream. I think he is actually a good striker. Look, he's no Jared Gordon, right, JL? No, like he's not going to be a ranked guy. He's never going to be a ranked guy. But Inner G, who in this picture actually has hair, sometimes reps the rat fink. That's the only way I can describe that haircut. The rat fink. His striking's underrated. We just don't see it much because he's faced a lot of wrestlers who he's had to counter wrestle, who he's had to defend. And in fairness to him, he's done a good job. His counter wrestling is really good. His takedown defense is really good. Like I said, he trains at Tiger Muay Thai, so he does have good striking. He's fought just as good or better guys than his opponent. If you look at his resume, on the regional scene, plus now his UFC experience, where again, some split decisions, unanimous decisions. He's never gotten absolutely dominated, absolutely dummied, or like been in a one-sided fight in the UFC thus far. So I'm going with Charles Johnson, especially as an underdog here. Easy money, easy money. We'll get back to the comments here. If I miss any of your comments, guys, just be patient or comment them again here. We're going to go through a chunk. 3 more fights here, then we'll get back to your comments, and then we'll start back up again with the predictions and for the Mick Parkin matchup. But anyways, next fight up the card here, Nicholas Mota against Trey Ogden, which, by the way, like, great prelim matchups. I think this is going to be a fun card. Nicholas Mota against Trey Ogden. Nicholas Mota 13-5 as a pro. He's 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Minus 135. He's the slight favorite. 30 years of age. A lot of high hopes for him coming into the UFC. Trey Ogden, the Samurai Ghost, 16-6, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, but he did lose his last one. 34 years of age, pretty much in his prime right now. He's very technical fighter is Trey Ogden. 16-6. Don't let his record fool you. Don't let his 0 KO TKOs fool you either. 11 submissions. He's crafty, he's tricky, he's slippery. That's way too sus to say on an MMA predictions video. He's crafty, we'll say. He's got really good fight IQ as well. 5 decisions. 3-1 in the LFA, 1-2 in the UFC, 1-0 in Bellator. He's fought in some good promotions. Lost a decision to Ignacio Bahamondes. No shame in that. Beat Daniel Zellhuber. Lost to Jordan Leavitt. Close fight there. And was on a 3-fight win streak in Fury, UFC, and Ultimate Blue Corner Battles. Never heard of that promotion. Nicholas Mota, kind of a disappointment upon entering the UFC. 13-5 as a pro, like I said, 3-2 in his last 5. Training out of Extreme Couture, a really good gym. 9 KO TKOs. 0 submissions, 4 decisions. 0 submissions, and he's lost once via submission. You're telling me this guy's Brazilian? Come on, this guy's not actually Brazilian. You know what I say about every single Brazilian. They were born in a gi and a couple stripes on their white belt. 1-2 in the UFC, 1-0 off Contender Series. Lost Emmanuel Torres, beat Cameron Van Camp, but like, who hasn't? Was knocked out by Jim Miller. Now, shout out to Jim Miller. I remember watching that and just being hyped as hell. It was early in 2022, but you can't get knocked out to Jim Miller and expect to rise in the rankings, right? So I still think he's a good fighter, but he's like hardly a prospect anymore. He's gonna have to go on a run here to impress us, because there was some hype behind Nicholas Mota upon entering the UFC. Hype that I no longer subscribe to. I'm picking Trey Ogden to win this one, and I think he's another good, again, slight underdog here at plus 110, but I think it's another good one. He's well-rounded despite not having... Whoops, I'm chucking my pen around. Despite not having that just pure knockout power, he's way more well-rounded. He will... I don't think Nicholas Mota is going to be able to hit him clean. That's the thing. He'll be able to keep this fight on the outside. He'll be able to find his entries, and if not, he'll be able to outpoint him. He's fought better guys in the UFC, better fight IQ, not as dangerous, but way smarter. So maybe more dangerous. He's coming off a brutal loss. That is Nicholas Mota. And I think, Mota's been humbled in the UFC, and I think Trey Ogden is going to give him another tough fight. I don't think Trey Ogden necessarily finishes him. I don't think he submits him, because I don't think Trey Ogden's going to knock this guy out. That would be absolutely crazy, though, if it was like a crazy knee or something like that. Something out of the blue. But no, I do think Trey Ogden beats him. I think he beats him soundly, unanimous decision. Moving up the card. First women's fight on the card. We got Rigo. It's so funny. Rigo is in the chat here. I don't know if he's still in the chat. We'll check it out in here in a sec. But your girl here, Aylin Perez Rigo. What's up, AJs, by the way? What's up, Mikey? Good to see you guys. We will get back to the comments here in a sec, but this is Rigo's girl. She inspired like 3 or 4 videos on your channel. Anyways, Lucie Pudilová against Aylin Perez, the Bunda Queen herself. Up against the Czech fighter training out of Dublin, Ireland. 14-8 is Lucie Pudilová. She lost her last fight, but she was on a 3-fight win streak. 2 in Octagon, which we will be streaming this weekend, and 1 in the UFC. Going up against the 8-2 Argentinian out of the Goat Shed in Miami, Florida. 3-2 in her last 5. 4 KO TKO, 1 submission, 3 decisions, 1 loss via disqualification. she sat on her she sat on her opponent. 1-1 in the UFC. 3-1 in Samurai Fight House. She beat Ashley Evans Smith, okay, in the UFC. She took her to a decision. Enough said. I could literally stop the breakdown of these two fighters right now, and I know you guys in live chat are like, please, you should just go to the next one. We don't give a fuck. You better not. None of you should have bet on this one at all. But like, end of discussion. You go to decision. Like, she is awful, dude. She was coming off suspension. She is awful. Awful. Absolutely awful, dude. It's, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Lucie Pudilová, 3 KO TKO, 2 submissions, 9 decisions, 3-6 in the UFC, 5-1 in Octagon, 3-0 in Gladiator Championship fighting. All I have in my notes in like big bold and like I circled it like 3 times is Perez could not finish Ashley Evans Smith. Enough said, move on. She's got a Bunda. Rigo is obsessed. That's another thing I have in my notes here. She's got a Bunda that Rigo is obsessed with. That is verbatim. She has mech grappling. Sure, maybe she has some power. Maybe. Lucie's more well-rounded. She's actually a decent striker. She should have beat Edwards in her last fight, in my opinion. Now, I know our boy Rigo is going to disagree, but I think Jocelyn Edwards is awful. Not as awful as Ashley Evans Smith or that of a Lucie Pudilová, but I don't think Jocelyn Edwards is a good fighter at all. I think she should have won in that fight. She lost split decision. 3-fight win streak before then in Octagon, which is a good promotion, and the UFC before that. I mean, yeah, this one should be a walk in the park. It's hilarious that she's the underdog right now. It's like literally the simps of Twitter are dropping money on Perez, and it's hilarious. Easy money. Actually, it's women's MMA. I take that back. It's never easy money. It's always a coin flip, but I'm confident in this one. I'm confident in this one. As confident as you can be for a women's MMA matchup. All right, we'll get back to the comments after this, guys. Next one on the card here, Lucas Alexander against Jeka Saragih. Saragih, 13-3 as a pro. Decent record. He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights out of Indonesia, 28 years of age. He's the pretty big underdog here at plus 390. 8 KO TKO, 4 submissions, 1 decision. So he's finished a lot of his fights. 0-1 in the UFC, 11-2 in One Pride MMA, which honestly I'm not even familiar with. And I watch a lot of these crazy and just kind of underground and indie Asian promotions. He lost quite handedly in the second round to Anshul Jubilee. Before then, he beat a 16-7 guy in road to UFC, 7-2 guy in road to UFC, which, hey, fair enough. Those are 2 great wins. First round knockout, and third round spinning back fist. But the promotion that he was in before, he was crushing cans, okay? Few good wins here and there. Like he beat a 4-0 guy, 4-1 guy when he was 6-1, 5-1 respectively. Beat a 3-1 guy when he was 3-1. Beat an 11-5 guy when he was 2-1. Like, those are good wins. His resume wasn't bad, but hindsight, he was crushing cans, okay? Lucas Alexander, the Lion, 8-3 in his pro MMA career, and he's also 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's the heavy favorite out of Brazil, and you know Gravedigger Jones' rule, right? If you don't know much about both of the fighters, always pick the Brazilian. And this is totally in his favor there. 28 years of age as well. 3 KO TKO, 0 submissions. Brazilian with 0 submission and being submitted 3 times. Like, what is this guy? Like, what did this guy only come out of the womb with 1 stripe on his white belt? Like, what is this shit? 5 decisions, 1-1 in the UFC. Good win against Steven Peterson. Lost to Joanderson, Brito. No shame in that. It was on good. It was actually on a decent win streak on the regionals. Not the best regional scenes now, not the best wins either. But honestly, like he's okay. He's okay. He fought Anthony Pettis. Oh, he fought in the first Anthony Pettis card. That's sweet. Look, I remember this being just like a dominant win. But I don't think any of us had a lot of. I don't think any of us had a lot of faith in that of Steven Peterson at that time. Anyways, I don't think Lucas Alexander's anything special, but I do think he's going to win this fight. I look, minus 530 is crazy. I truly believe that. But having said that, he is just better everywhere. Some decent wins recently. And I mean, you can nitpick some of them on his resume there. His opponent there, Jeka, lost to Jubilee, Road to UFC, yet was signed anyways, which is weird. He lost in the finals of Road to UFC to Jubilee, but was signed anyways to the UFC. On the regional, he was the easy competition killer. Like I said, there were some guys that he beat who had good records, but in hindsight, if you go back and watch the fights, and I went back and watched some of them, like he was just better. He was just better, and he was stronger. He had more power, which is why he was able to finish a lot of them. Lucas Alexander still looked okay in some of his losses. And he really only lost when he took steps up in competition, as you can see here, especially in the UFC. Brito, damn good fighter. When he was 2-1, went up against a 5-3 guy. When he was 2-0, went up against a 5-2 guy. Like his only professional losses are when he took a step up in competition, and I do not think he's taking a step up in competition in this matchup. So I am going with Lucas Alexander at minus 530 after going 3 underdogs in a row. A heavy favorite to breathe a little. All right, back to the live chat we go. AJ's MMA. It's great to see you, my man. Great to see you. I said that juicy main event in reference to that boxing fight. Ah, yes, that boxing fight. Mikey P, what's good? One of our exclusive members. I've got Esteban by pressure fighting and wrestling, although hate betting against Johnson for sure. Man, I'm so excited for Mr. Tiuliulin, Mr. Choke Artist in the UFC. He's hungry after the dirty back of the head elbow loss to Cheater Cop did last time out. I hate that the guys that I picked to win end up cheating, because JL always has that against me, or has that against the fighter. He taken the fight on short notice, man, and he was absolutely destroyed and just took some unnecessary damage, as you pointed out there. I don't think he's in any shape to fight on short notice here, but he's a good man. Like you said, he's a good man. This is the first fight. Underdog parlay could be Johnson, Ogden, Leavitt, and Brito. I'm really liking it. I do like that. I've got Trey Ogden to win at slight underdog. Don't like betting against Mota, but Ogden's win against Zellhuber convinced me he beats Mota. Great point. That elbow KO on Mota was extremely vicious, dude. It was. Alan Perez by Bunda Domination. There you go. I told you. It made my notes, Rigo. It made my notes, dude. I don't know. I write so small. I don't know if you can see it. It's circled somewhere in there. Anyways. Again, shout out to Rigo. Congratulations to him hitting 10K subs. 10K plus subs now on his channel. Great accomplishment, buddy. Go Rigo's girl. He wishes. Have to bet Alan Perez to win here. Lucie Pudilová lost to Jocelyn Edwards. You can't count on a fighter who lost to Jocelyn Edwards. Perez, but did you watch that fight, Mikey Edwards? She beat Jocelyn Edwards. The judges fucked that up royally. I remember, I mean, you can even go back and watch the tape. Not that I expect you to do so. I'm certainly not. But like, we live streamed that one. You can see my reaction on that one. I was arguing with this one guy in the live chat he's a good friend of ours and a good supporter of the channel, but still, like, she beat her. Edwards is not good. You're right. And Pudilová beat her. That was a bad night of judging. I do not know why a judge gave her that decision. Rigo, where's the Calcio gone? I feel sorry. RJ's things on vacation. Oh shit. Poor call, dude. Paul Craig by submission. How we feeling about it? We'll get there. Almost at the people's main event. Going with Lucas Alexander, Jeka, Saragih lost to Anshel Jubilee. Enough said. When is Jubilee fighting? Half of India ended up in the stream though, and we had a lot of views on that one. So can't say, honestly, if anything, I am pumped for Anshel Jubilee's next fight. Alexander should not be this much of a favorite. See, yes, I agree with that. He is minus 530, Andrew. Tiuliulin will make it ugly and smoother Duncan by killing his spirit and wanting him to quit MMA altogether. Denis will make sure Duncan remembers his face in his dreams, much like Pavlovich did to Tom Aspinall, right, JL? Yes, congrats, Rigo, on the 10K subs. Damn it, I would have aced the card at UFC 292 if I didn't pick Tiuliulin, right? Yeah, she beat Jocelyn ever. Going with Mr. Tiuliulin, he's going to dominate him. I'm not surprised. All right, let's get to this next fight here. The big boys, some heavyweights. Mick Parkin against Caio Machado. All right. Before we don't have many nice things to say about Caio Machado next year, in this fifth fight of the night, I am going to say shout out to him, the BFL, that's right, Battlefield League Fighting Championship. He is the heavyweight championship of Battlefield Fighting Championship, BFL, BC's, that's right, British Columbia, Canada's regional MMA shows, that MMA show and promotion that blows Unified out of the water, that blows, RTC out of the water. It's the best damn one right now. 3 fighters into contenders, or I think 4 fighters on Contender Series. 3 got a contract from BFL this year. Let's go, baby. Let's go. BC MMA taking over the regional scene. Having said that, he is hands down the worst of the bunch. I have no idea why Dana White signed him and didn't sign some of these other guys. But having said that, like, I'll be cheering for you, bud. I'm certainly not picking him to win. I'm picking Mick Parkin to win at minus 360. 7-0. He's undefeated. He trains with Tom Aspinall and the greatest heavyweight outside the UFC in MMA, Phil Defree. Again, you cannot say Phil Defree isn't. Look at his record. I'm just saying. All right, so yeah, 28 years of age as well. And he actually has pretty good cardio for a big boy. I mean, look at this guy here. Look at this guy. He's a Rigo type of fighter. 5 KO TKO, 1 submission, 1 decision. He's now that who's Rigo's heavyweight boy? He's out of the UFC. What's his name? Now that Parker Porter's gone, this is new Parker Porter. But this guy's better. Absolutely destroyed Jamal Pogues, but Jamal Pogues is horrendous, and I told you guys he was horrendous, and you just shouldn't even be in the UFC, despite him being 10-3. He's just so boring, man. He doesn't get knocked out, but he's just so boring. But yeah, he absolutely dismantled him. Great win on Contender Series, knocked down his opponent, was able to get him in a rear naked choke. Shout out to working with Tom Aspinall and Phil Defree. And then just crushed a bunch of cans before then. But he's good. You can see he's good. In this fight, you really got to see 3 rounds. You got to see his cardio. You got to see his boxing in the pocket. You got to see his dirty boxing in the clinch. You got to see him actually do some damage in the clinch up against the cage. He set a pretty good pace again for a heavyweight, and he's only 6-0 as a pro. He's only 6-0 as a pro. Yeah, sky's the limit for Mitch Parkin. Caio Machado, BFL champion, motherfuckers. 8-1-1, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. 29 years of age, fighting out of Vancouver, BC, British Columbia. Originally out of Brazil. 4 KO, TKO, 2 submissions, 2 decisions, 1-0 in Contender Series, 7-1-1 in the BFL. And I'm just going to say this. The UFC doesn't have a good heavyweight division. The BFL doesn't really have a good heavyweight division either. He laid on his opponent for 3 rounds up against the cage and somehow got a contract on Contender Series. But again, we're rooting for him. Got an armbar against an 11-7 guy in BFL 75. Beaten 11-15 guy in BFL 69, though it was nice. Did beat a 5-1 guy in the first round. He knocked him out of BFL 67. I love how he was a BFL, homegrown guy too, which is awesome. Look, his resume wasn't bad when he was starting out. He did lose to a 4-0 guy when he was 1-0, and beat guys relatively close to his level. Beat an 11-14 guy who, again, doesn't have a good record, but you're 3-1-1. You're taking a step up in competition. The 5-1, good win there. 11-15, horrendous. Even though he at least got it done early, so he crushed the can early and didn't drag it out to a slogfest. I watched this fight. It was boring. Sorry, not this one. I watched this one. It was absolutely boring. Again, he got it done just like he got it done with Lee Main in BFL 75. An easy win, as it should have been. But I can't even remember him throwing much punches at all. Just muffin shots in the clinch, some elbows. So I'm scared for the Vancouver boy. Well, the Brazilian Vancouver boy. But yeah, Mick Parkin's going to take this one. And what did I say? Poor Vancouver fighter and BFL champ. Parkin's out of the good camp. And Machado faced a bad opponent on Dana White Contender Series as well. Mick Parkin has way better striking, undefeated, good pace, good boxing, and good low kicks as well, which is something that was highlighted on, I think I watched James Lynch, Guru, and I think those are the only 2 that I watched this week. Yeah. I prepped, not last minute, but yesterday, and I think I only had time to watch it. So I watched those 2, and it was in one of those two guys. Sorry, Rigo, if you did a prediction video, I didn't watch it yet, but I will. I'm going for a little bit of I'm going for a jog after this, so I'll fire it up there if you did. But anyways, long and the short of it, now I'm going off tangent. One of those 2 guys highlighted that he's good low kicks as well, and I went and watched, and yeah, he sets up getting into the pocket. He sets up some big shots with the low kicks. So yeah, Mick Parkin, easy. Don't know why I spent so much time on that one. All right, here's JL's. This one's for you, JL, and we'll get back to the comments here after the Brito matchup. Christian Leroy Duncan against Denis Tiuliulin. Christian Leroy Duncan's high hopes coming out of Cage Warriors. He was undefeated. He was the champion there, and he lost. He lost his debut in the UFC. Having said that, having seen that performance, look at him. Huge favorite, minus 385. 6 KO, TKO, 1 submission, 1 decision, 1-1 in the UFC, 7-0 in Cage Warriors. My apologies. He did have a loss in the UFC. Or he did have 2 fights in the UFC. He lost to Armin Petrosian, unanimous decision, and he won a quick win against Dusko Todorovic. And oh yeah, that's right. Todorovic got a knee injury. That was quick. Then we got to see him fight Armin Petrosian. For some reason, I thought he got the knee injury. So in the back of my mind, I was like, Christian Leroy, didn't he get a knee injury? And there was a no contest or something. But then I saw the win there, and I guess he got the win because his opponent injured his knee. Yeah, 1 minute and 52 seconds. So it was a while into the first round. So my apologies there. A little bit of a brain fart. Even though I was thinking, I was like, something happened in his debut, and it ended early. Petrosian, again, underrated striker. Underrated MMA fighter, underrated UFC fighter. I think people just think he's a good striker, and in this one he proved it. He was able to outlast in the clinch. He was able to actually land some decent shots in the clinch, and he was able just to outstrike Christian Leroy Duncan, quite frankly, on the feet. That's a hell of a step up in competition in the UFC, especially coming from Cage Warriors. Denis Tiuliulin on short notice is not, which is why he is this much of the favorite. Only 28 years old as well, going up against a 35-year-old, Russian machine, and damn good striker, damn good kickboxer who's got power, he's just not UFC level, quite frankly. 11-8. The UFC is just tainting his record right now. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, and he suffered a brutal knockout and took some shots to the back of the head by RoboCop in his last fight. 9 KO TKO. Shout out to him. 0 submissions, 1 decision. He's not a good grappler, and he's too hittable. He takes some shots to hit some, and man. 1-3 in the UFC, 0-1 in ACB. He was good in M1. Again, brutal loss to Gregory Rodriguez with those elbows. Got absolutely humbled and destroyed by Jun Young Park in the first round. Beat Jamie Pickett. I guess that's a good win. Beat Kirzriev. I don't even know who the guy is. 13-0 though, but so I guess there's no shame in that. And that was in his UFC debut. Good win in UAE Warriors. Fought in Brave. Look, upon entering the UFC, I was a big... I say this all the time. I know I sound like a broken record. And maybe this will be the last time. I was a fan of Denis Tiuliulin coming into the UFC. I really was. And I always pulled for him. I said, look, this guy fought in good promotions. Whoops. You can see for yourself. He's fought in good promotions. His resume is good. He's knocking guys out left, right, and center. Brave, UAE Warriors, M1. He had a good resume upon entering the UFC. He's just not UFC level. Unfortunately, he's just not UFC level. And he's a good guy. He's a good guy. But yeah, just not UFC level. All right. So I'm picking Christian Leroy Duncan to win this one. Again, shout out to Denis Tiuliulin taking this fight on short notice. He's an absolute beauty for that. And he's just an absolute beauty all around. But Christian Leroy Duncan is going to absolutely destroy him. Tiuliulin has hands, but he's way too hittable, not UFC level. CLD is so much better. Good cardio, full camp, well-rounded. Yeah, Tiuliulin short notice coming off a KO. It is all over. Christian Leroy Duncan -385 favorite. I am picking him to win. Again, we'll get back to the comments very, very soon, folks. Stay patient. Keep the comments coming. And if it gets buried, just comment it again. All right, next fight on the card here. We have a Canadian, an actual Canadian, not a Brazilian, training out of Canada. We have Chad I always mess up his name. Anheliger? Anheliger. I'm sorry, Chad. Against Jose Johnson. All right, the Canadian Chad Anheliger, 12-6, but he was on a run before his last loss, where he was 4 fights in a row there, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Training out of Calgary, Alberta. Love Calgary. Calgary always holds a special place in my heart. It was when I graduated high school, Calgary was the big city, and the first place I moved to, officially, place I moved to where I was paying rent, and I was actually on my own after high school. I was one of those who didn't go to college out of my friends right after high school, and I went to Calgary, Alberta for almost 3 years, and love that city. One of Canada's most underrated cities. Edmonton, absolute dump. Calgary, unreal. Anyways, 36 years of age. Let's take a look at the monster. 7 KO TKO, 3 submissions, 2 decisions, 1-1 in the UFC, 1-0 off Contender Series. Yeah, his last fight, he did not look that good against Alatengui. Oh my God, it's getting late. Alatengili, who's 16-9-2. Who he's fine. He's a dog, but he's not one who you want to get absolutely absolutely destroyed against. And he was the one who just had to fight against Chris Gutierrez, who Chris Gutierrez just absolutely destroyed his leg. Look, he's a dog. Again, you don't want him to be the guy that blows your win streak. And before then, he'd just be kind of mech guys in the UFC. Now, look, a win streak's a win streak, and props to him coming off Contender Series and coming into the UFC after that. Rise FC, he beat some okay guys, 5-2, 4-1. Again, his record wasn't anything special at that point. 8-5, 7-5. He's scrappy. He's kind of exiting his prime. I'm rooting for him because he's Canadian, but I don't think he's necessarily on Jose Johnson's level here. 15-8, but don't let his record fool you. 3-2 in his last 5 fights, despite him coming off a loss. He is the favorite at -190. God, I really wanted to pick the Canadian guys on this one. I really did. And he's good. He's good, but he's younger too, 28 years of age, also coming off the Contender Series. Everybody on a fight night these days coming off Contender Series, which, hey, I'm not complaining. 8 KO, TKO, 2 submissions, 5 decisions. He's a lot longer than him too and has wicked reach for the division. 1-1 in LFA, 1-1 off Contender Series, and 0-1 so far in the UFC. So he lost his UFC debut, but his UFC debut was against Damon Blackshear, dude, and it was a freaking twister. He lost to a freaking twister against Damon Blackshear. Damon Blackshear is good, man. 3rd twister in UFC history. Okay, Korean Zombie. Freedom! Bryce Mitchell. If it wasn't so late, I would scream louder. And Damon Blackshear. So no shame in that. Was on a 3-fight win streak before against a 6-0 guy, 4-1 guy, and 10-0. Shout out to him. I think he just has more tools. I'm taking him -190. Dangerous striker, long reach, younger, good development. Look, the monster out of Calgary. He's well-rounded. He's good. He ain't great. He's nothing special. I'm going with the younger guy on this one. All right, one more, guys, and then we'll get back to your comments. I promise. It's a big card, so we got to fire through some of these. Jonathan Pearce against Joanderson Brito. Guys, like, who else here? Put the hand emojis. Raise your hand. Who else here is a fan of Joanderson Brito? He is so much fun to watch. Now, Jonathan Pearce, 14-4 record. He has a good record, and he's beaten some decent guys. But there's a lot of holes in his game. I still... Despite him being 31 years old, and this is what's concerning about him, despite him being 31 years old, he still has that prospect vibe, and it's like, oh yeah, there's a lot of talent there, but there's a lot that needs to be polished. So, well, he's running out of time to polish those things. Anyways, out of Tennessee, he is the slight favorite. He's the slight favorite going up against Joanderson Brito. 15-3-1 Joanderson Brito. He's on a 3-fight win streak. He is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Jonathan Pearce, 14-4, but 5-0 in his last 5 fights. 28 years old for Brito as well, although he looks 10 years older than Pearce. JSP, ha. I fucking hate him now. No, I'm just kidding. A few guys had a fight ready on this card. 9 KO, TKO, 2 submissions, 3 decisions. So again, you look at his resume, you look at that, and you're like, damn, this guy must be amazing. But then you watch him fight, and you're like, you're good. Amazing. 5-1 in the UFC, 1-0 off Contender Series. Couldn't put out Darren Elkins. He beats Amir Khani, but that is not anything to brag about. And in the first round, didn't Amir Khani land some good shots on him? Beat Christian Rodriguez. Hey, a 7-0 Christian Rodriguez, good win there. Beat Omar Morales. Beat Kai Kam. Yeah, like this one I didn't really think was that great either. Lost to Joe Lozon in 2019. I mean, shout out to Joe Lozon, but come on, brother. I don't know. Before his Contender Series fight, beat a 3-1 guy. He's fine. He is dangerous. He does have knockout power. He does have finishing ability, but I think Joanderson Brito is way more dangerous. Way more dangerous. Plus 110, so this is close. He's on a 3-fight win streak right now. training at a Shuto box, but not the same one that not Diego Lima's, not the one that Charles Oliveira and his crew all train out of, the Super Saiyan crew, who I guess they haven't been dyeing their hair as of late. 6 KO TKOs. I digress. 7 submissions, 2 decisions, 3-1 in the UFC, 1-0 off Contender Series, 1-0 in LFA. Dominant win in his last fight. Again, it was against Weston Wilson, but whatever, dominant nonetheless. A good win against Lucas Alexander. Good win against Andre Fili. Lost to Bill Algeo, but he did go the distance. Beat Diego Lopez on Contender Series, and we all know how good Diego Lopez is. Beat Chepe Marcical on the regional scene, and Chepe Marcical is a great fighter, also now in the UFC, and was a great regional fighter as well. Beat 9-0 guy. Like, look at this guy's fucking record, man. Look at his record. FFC, decent promotion. Or his resume, I should say. Look at his resume here. 2-2, and he's going up against 5-0 guys. Respect, dude. Respect, dude. I just love watching Brito fight. He's got dog in him. This should be a fun one. Someone's going down. This ain't going decision. And if it does go decision, it's going to be an absolute war. Okay, as I turn my page to the second half of this card, let's get to the comments here, guys. Thank you so much for your patience. I think Pearce is good, but Brito is too quick for him. Yeah, dude. Brito's so explosive and so much fun. Brito will chin him in the first round KO. Tough to bet against Brito, but Pearce just had been too good. And his win against Christian Rodriguez going Pearce. His win against Christian Rodriguez was really, really good. Denis has some tricks up his sleeve. Odds don't tell the story of a matchup. Israel versus Strickland. JL, he has no tricks up his sleeve. Everyone knows his one and only trick, and that is striking. And now he's getting knocked out in the striking department. Yo, what's up, Hernan? I love you too, brother. Thank you so much for being an exclusive member. Did you know One MMA is going to start in a few more hours? Yeah, it's going to start literally in like 5 hours. I'm going to be sleeping, man. It's 4:30 a.m. on Pacific time. But when I get back to Minnesota, we'll start streaming them again. Johnson doesn't even look 6 feet. While I respect Chad, Jose Johnson's win over Jack Cartwright impressed me enough to think he wins against Anheliger. Going Jose. Yeah, that's the same. Look, I used to have a rule where I blindly just pick the Canadians because like I'm that patriotic and love my Canadian fighters in the UFC, my brothers and sisters. But now I'm actually taking it a little bit more seriously. AJ's MMA. Denis is one of his guys, dude. Like Bilal. I can't imagine how much Denis bullies Rinat in striking. Rinat and Denis are teammates. I can't even imagine how much Rinat ragdolls him in the gym. Cheater Cup will never have my respect. The fact that he danced around. Humbled. Yeah, I mentioned that, which is one of the reasons why I don't think he's ready to fight. He got brutally knocked out, hit in the back of the head a few times, and this fight's on short notice. He needs more time, dude. He needs more time and can't keep taking fights on short notice. While Tiuliulin has had tough matchups lately, leading to losses, I'm going with Chris Leroy Duncan. His distance controls, switching stances will prove too much and lead to a boring decision win. Yeah, Christian Leroy Duncan is a good fighter, and like he's one of those out of Cage Warriors that like I was like, okay, he may not be a champ in the UFC much like he was in Cage Warriors, but he's at least going to be a roster fighter in the UFC who's going to be around for a few years. You know, he's going to go like 5-3 before going on a 2-fight losing streak and eventually getting cut. I knew it. I knew you did, brother. I knew you did. I love it. Another fight we all care about. Vancouver Island, baby. Let's go. Shout out to Island top team, by the way. Can do some drop-in jiu-jitsu next week. Nick Parkin versus Chase Sherman is the heavyweight fight of all time, in my opinion. Deep cut, and I love it. Tough to see someone's skills. They face lower-level fighters. Parker Chad Porter. Parker Porter. Parker Porter, the GOAT. Yes, Rigo's GOAT. The heavyweight king. I mean, he would not only chin John Jones on his first like step back left hook, he would probably submit him too with his brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Bottle Depot fight can crushing. Going with Mick Parkin. Bet Caio to bet Caio to beat the Polish guy in Dynamite Contender Series, and it was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. Slavarski is his best win, and Slavarski has one of those scam padded records. Caio's awful, yeah. And like I said, I really want to root for the BFL, the king of the BFL heavyweight division, but I just can't. Or I mean, I want to pick him. I'll root for him, but I can't pick him. Pavoj was my boy for a week. Oh yeah, dude. Thank you, Rigo. Thank you, buddy. Thank you for all the support you show this channel. We'll keep throwing subs and those in our community your way as well. I mean, not all of them. You know, I don't even want to say get, because that's not fair. But not your humor is not all of their cup of tea, and that's okay, because your humor is something different. That's what I love. That's what I love about the videos that you make. And again, the short drinks, give it a little mix. Hilarious. Kills me every single time. Going with Mr. Tiuliulin, he's going to dominate him. Okay. Literally be their dude. Mikey P should just be Jocelyn Edwards. God damn it, I would have aced the okay, look at that. We're already caught up in the comments. That's awesome. What's up, Sean Cosgrove? You're still awake? Go to bed, Sean. Go to bed. But thank you so much for joining. One of our exclusive members, Sean Cosgrove, I just have to say, is one of our big supporters on the SodaPod podcast and on this channel. How long do they usually have to train when they schedule a fight? Training camp usually, I think ideally 6 to 7 weeks. Sometimes people go longer, and they'll go like 8 to 10. I gotta hit the hay. See you soon. Won't be able to catch Denis obliterate Duncan, but I'll catch the rematch or catch the replay. Sounds good, buddy. Have a great night, JL. Sean Cosgrove again. Thank you so much for joining, buddy. All right, let's keep going, guys. Let's keep going here. Again, long card, but we're nearing the end. We're nearing the end. Final few fights. All right, 9th fight on the card. We got Uros Medic against Myktybek Orolbai. Orolbai coming off a dominant uppercut knockout to and I'm just going to say a jiu-jitsu guy, but a can in MMA in LFA, but it was a good win nonetheless. 25 years of age, though he looks a lot older. 11-1-1 from Kyrgyzstan, but actually fighting out of Team Alpha Male and Uriah Faber's gym right now. Going up against Uros Medic, though, the doctor, 9-1 out of Serbia. Training out of Anchorage, Alaska. Absolutely love it. 4-1 in his last 5 fights. 7 KO, TKO, 2 submissions, 0 decisions. Love that. Finished all his fights. 3-1 in the UFC. 1-0 1-0 off Contender Series. Beat Matt Selmsberger. Omar Morales. Lost to Jalen Turner. No shame in that. Beat an 8-3 guy. 7-1 guy. Contender Series in UFC. Alaska FC. It's crazy. Alaska FC is like 148 shows. That's nuts. Beat a 5-0 guy, so respect to him there. Again, Orolbai, 11-1-1, kind of a padded record, but has been competing in LFA. 6 KO, TKO, 4 submissions, 1 decision. 3-0 in the LFA. 0-1 in ACA. Again, poor Hayward Charles. That knockout was featured in our best regional finishes of October. It was also we also did a live stream for it, so absolutely brutal uppercut for a face plant knockout. But look at his opponent's record, and then his other LFA fight was against a 10-7 guy. 6-1. That was a good win. Look, he is good. He's very talented, but he's raw. He's a raw talent, and he needs to hone his skills. Open FC again, beat 8-1 guy. Being signed to the UFC, hey, props him. He got his ticket. When you take a short notice fight, it's an automatic 4-fight deal. One of them scratched off. He has a 3-fight contract in the UFC after this, so shout out to him. Having said that, I do think Uros Medic wins this one, coming in at plus 120. That's another thing. Taking this fight on short notice, I know he dominated, but he just fought. I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago. I guess he's young, though. I guess he's young, but it's crazy that he's the favorite. Sorry, that's my apology. Medic is the underdog. So yeah, by the way, this is probably the best underdog on the card right now is Medic. The fact that he is the favorite, coming off that win, coming off a fight 3 weeks ago, absolutely insane if you ask me. He's good, but he is unproven, man. Medic has actually fought guys in the UFC. Yeah, I'm going Medic, dude. This in my opinion is easy money. One of the best underdogs on the card. Unreal comeback against Summersberger at altitude, no less. And that was his first time at welterweight as well. He's a dog. He hits hard. He pushes the pace. His opponent, again, Orolbai, nasty finisher on the regional scene, but short notice, just fought. Just a few weeks ago. It was a can, but it was a sick KO. Go check it out. And check out the video, actually. I'll post it in the description of the video after we stream here. But anyways, awesome wins for the UFC so far by Medic, and entertaining fights as well. Again, easy money, him as the underdog here. And if I'm wrong, if this guy like spinning heel kicks him or like flying knees, well then, hey, I'm happy that I'm wrong. Good quote unquote problem to have. We got a new nasty prospect in the UFC. All right. Again, we have 14 fights on this card. We're at 10. So we're gonna just fire through this one. Amanda Ribas versus Luana Pinheiro. Amanda Ribas kind of chinny for I'll just say it, for a women's MMA fighter. She is the favorite here, and I think it's well deserved. Her opponent is not great. Don't let her record fool you. 11-1, 5-0 in her last 5. She is meh at best, dude. 2 KO, TKO, 5 submissions, 2 decisions, 1 via disqualification. She just doesn't want to fight. There's no dog in her at all. 3-0 in the UFC, 1-0 in Contender Series. She beat the Karate Hottie. Nah. Michelle Waterson Gomez won that fight. Go watch it back. She beat Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes is so bad. She quit against Randa Marcos. And all these women who she beat just must have been horrendous, because she's horrendous as well. Amanda Ribas, 11-4, 2-3, unfortunately, in her last 5 fights, but she's the favorite. She's 30 years of age, so she's not. I mean, they're the same age. She just gets knocked out in women's MMA, or at least gets rocked quite a bit. But she's got dogs. She's from Brazil. Training an American top team and her own gym there. 2 KO, TKO, 4 submissions, 5 decisions, 6-3 in the UFC, 2-1 in Jungle Fight. Lost to Macy Barber in her last fight. Got absolutely tuned up in that one. Beat Viviana Araujo before that. Lost to Caitlin Jukagian, split decision. And again, that's losing to Caitlin Jukagian. That's not a bad. There's no shame in that. Beat Verona Jandiroba. And lost to Marina Rodriguez, who got knocked out there. And before that was on a hell of a win streak in Max Fight and the UFC. Easy. I'm not going to say easy money, but easy win. Should be easy win for Amanda Ribas, but this is women's MMA, so ultimately flip a coin. But I'm going with Amanda Ribas minus 240. Chinny for women's MMA, but she's a fine roster. She's a fine women's fighter on the UFC roster. Well-rounded, better fighter, more experience, actually has technique. And I already highlighted why. I just think that she's just not a good fighter as well. She gave up. She gave up in one of her fights. But at the end of the day, flip a coin. Who knows? I know Amanda Ribas locking it in. Payton Talbott against Nick Aguirre. Now, Payton Talbott, still green, but so much talent. Can't wait to see this guy develop in the UFC. Hopefully they don't just continue to sign and give him cans like they did here, but match him up with other good matchups. The UFC roster is so big now that, match him up with the guy who from Contender Series a year or two ago who has a win or two under their belt, right? Build these guys up properly. Look, he's a massive favorite, and based off having 6 pro wins, you guys are probably like, there's no way you should be minus 775. What is this? Top ranked boxing? Dude, it's less about him and more how bad his opponent is. But anyways, 25 years of age, out of Reno, Nevada, has unbelievably crisp and tough and powerful striking. 1-0 Contender Series, 3-0 training out of or on Uriah Faber's A1 Combat. Beat a 7-2 guy. He beat Trace Cortez's brother, who had his second run on Contender Series, and he dominated him. He beat him up, dude. Before then, beat an 8-1 guy, 5-3 guy, and 4-2 guy on Uriah Faber's A1 Combat when he was 4-0, 3-0, and 2-0 respectively. Had decent amateur career as well, going 5-0. He's very, very good. Again, he made some mistakes. Trace Cortez's brother is a good fight. Is a good regional fighter, so it was a good matchup. It wasn't a complete can, but overall, you can see that this guy's got a lot of skill, and I'm excited to see him fight in the UFC. Not really excited to see him beat up on this guy, but don't let his record fool you. 7-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. 27 years old. He ain't that great. He ain't that great. Sorry, Nick. I don't mean to be disrespectful, brother, but I'm calling it for how I see it. 3 KO, TKO, 4 submissions, 0 decisions. He's finished all, like, I wanted to love this guy. I wanted to pick this guy and be like, and go against the grain. Despite me still wearing my jean jacket inside, I ain't that much of a hipster. Despite me looking at some round glasses versus, this normal style that I've been rocking for years. Despite me and those hipster tendencies, I ain't going hipster on this one. I will not. 0-1 in the UFC because he's trash. 4-0 in Colosseum Combat. Barely heard of that league. Hey, at least he beat Nick Fox in Art of Scrap 6 in a grappling match. Lost to Dan Argueta quite handedly. And beat a 4-2 guy, 2-1. Guy making their debut. 6-0 in the amateur scene. And he beat some okay guys, I guess. Yeah, we're going we're going Talbott. We're going Payton Talbott. Only 25. Very good prospect. Awesome resume. Amazing performance on Dana White Contender Series against a guy who, has been fighting on the regional scene, who's against sister Tracy Cortez, so access and to good gyms, to good training. Okay. And in fairness to me, he put up a good fight. He was a dog as well. But this should be a layup for Talbot. Easy win. Better in all areas. Alpha male guy. Terrible resume and a UFC loss. He will be cut after this layup win for Talbot. All right, moving up the card. Featured fight. We got Jordan Leavitt against Chase Hooper. I really like this matchup. Both these guys, this is a perfect matchup for a prospect who's, a few years younger, and Jordan Leavitt, who's slowly coming into his own as, a roster fighter in the lightweight division. And again, only 3 more left, ladies and gentlemen. Then we'll wrap things up as I know it's getting late. Jordan Leavitt, the Monkey King, 11-2 as a pro in mixed martial arts, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Only 28 years old. Wrestling background and starting to learn how to strike in the UFC. Kind of. I mean, you know what? He's starting to be able to strike against guys at his level. 2 KO, TKO, 6 submissions, 3 decisions, 4-2 in the UFC, 1-0 in LFA, and 1-0 in Contender Series. Guys, I'll get back to your comments here. We'll just plow through the rest of the card, then we'll get back to your comments, I promise. Thank you for your patience. Good win against Victor Martinez. He, TKO in the first round. Lost Paddy Pimblett again. Not a good look for him there. Beat Trey Ogden. Split decision. Trey Ogden's a tricky guy, crafty guy. Like I said, that's a good win. Beat Matt Sales. Sales. Not that great, but whatever. Claudio Puelles. Look, went to a decision against a very scary submission artist. So he actually has good, counter grappling, or he's good grappling, good counter submissions, and he's a very, very good wrestler. That was his base before MMA. Chase Hooper, good grappler. So this is an interesting matchup whose striking is horrendous, but looked good in his last fight against a lesser opponent. But hey, it was a good fight to get his confidence back up after getting absolutely dominated and daddied against Steve Garcia. Minus 220. He's the favorite right now. Damn. 4 KO, TKO, 5 submissions, 3 decisions, 4-3. He's 24 years old and he's already had that many fights in the UFC. That's amazing. 4-3 in the UFC, 1-0 off Contender Series. Again, he beat Nick Fior. Good for him. He beat him up. Beat Clay Guida in grappling. Good for him again. Got absolutely beat up by Steve Garcia. Beat Felipe Corrales. Good for him. He's still a prospect. He does have a decent resume. I will give him that. I've never really been impressed with anything but his grappling. Other than in his last fight where it's like, okay, his striking did get better. But you know what? I think Jordan Levitt's striking has gotten better as well. And I think at this stage it is better than Chase Hooper. So I think Jordan Levitt will be able to keep this on the feet. And I think he'll get the better of Chase Hooper, either beat him unanimous decision or maybe even TKO him. Maybe even, finish this fight TKO, ground and pound, or something of that nature. But I do think Jordan Levitt likely takes this decision. I do think he wins this one. I think it's a good underdog at plus 180. He's a good wrestler, good grappler, good counter grappler, I'll say. He's good at defending submissions. Neither of them have good stand-up, but I think Levitt's is better. This, again, great matchup. Chase is fine. Last win was good. He showed he improved his striking, but overall, I just think Jordan Levitt is a little bit more well-rounded. 2 young guys out, well outside the rankings, but 2 guys who need to prove themselves against guys who are at their level, not necessarily miles above them, not necessarily miles under them, at their level. And I think this is a good matchup. Anyways, co-main event of the evening. Let's move on to that. And then back to your comments, guys. Jake Matthews against Michael Morales. Jake, the Celtic Kid Matthews, against the young Mikael Morales out of Ecuador, but training out of Mexico. Look, I'm just going to say this. He's a prospect in the UFC. He's a name for that, and he's a good prospect. But he's not a great prospect. He's not like a sure rankings guy, future champion, in my opinion. Now, he could 100% enter the welterweight rankings eventually. Do I think he's a potential champion down the road? I have not seen enough of him to prove me to believe that way, or to lead me down that way, to put it in simpler terms, less complex terms, verbose terms. Anyways, he is undefeated though, so shout out to him. 15-0, and he is the big favorite at minus 305. But Jake Matthews is no joke. 19-6, but don't let his record fool you. He is a very good boxer. 3-2 in his last 5 fights, but night and day fighter. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. He's the underdog at plus 245, fighting out of Melbourne, Australia. 5 KO, TKO, 8 submissions, 6 decisions, 12-6 in the UFC, 3-0 in Fighters Express Promotions. He beat Darius Flowers in his last fight. Good win there. Lost to Selmsberger. Unanimous decision. Beat Andre Fialho. Lost to Sean Brady. Before them was on a 3-fight win streak, but not against the best against the best opponents. Rostrom Achman, probably the best out of those. Again, an old Diego Sanchez there. Mikael Morales. 11 KO TKO. That is amazing. 1 submission, 1 decision. But again, coming into the UFC, and again, he's had 3 UFC fights, and I've been impressed enough for him. Like, okay, you're doing what we expected you to do. I want to see more. I want to be impressed with your performance. Not the opposite. He beat Max Griffin in a great back and forth fight, but did make some grueling mistakes in that one. If I'm not mistaken, he dropped for guillotine at one point as well. Good win against Adam Fugit, who has some great stand-up. Trevin Giles, decent win. He beat Nikolai Veritanikmov on Contender Series. That was a great win. And honestly, if you look at his resume, he has a great... he had 2 good wins coming into the UFC, but he doesn't have a great resume. Now, beating a 3-1 guy when you're 2-0, 3-1 when you're 3-0, fine, that's good. But it's like he didn't take a step up in competition when he should have. Mind you, it didn't matter. He was knocking out lesser opponents, and when he got the call for Contender Series, he delivered. Hell, when he fought in UWC, he delivered. And he's delivered in the UFC with wins. I think he's good. I think he's got power. I think he's talented. Do I think he's one of these like S tier prospects? No. Is he a good prospect? Is he like that B plus, A minus? I do think, and look at his record. This is a great test for him. This is a great matchup overall. And I do think that Morales takes that minus 305. I mean, Matthews could be a good underdog, though. I'm not touching it. But if he somehow just keeps this on the feet and drags this into a boxing match, he definitely could outpoint Morales. But I think Morales is strong, and I think he will complete his takedowns. He's young. He's got good cardio. Some good wins so far. Looked good so far. Hasn't looked outstanding. But Matthews, yeah, he's a solid veteran. He's a good but not great underdog. I still think Morales has more power than him, though, and will put on a better pace, which is why I'm taking Morales here. All right, main event of the evening. Then we'll get back to your guys' comments before we close things out here tonight. Join us tomorrow. Exclusive membership stream in the morning, followed by Eris, then Bellator. Brendan Allen against Paul Craig. This was booked for June or July, if I'm not mistaken. Last June or July, but I'm pretty sure it was Brendan Allen who had to pull out due to an injury. The Bear Jew Paul Craig, the mythical creature at middleweight now, dropping down from light heavyweight, up against the surging Brendan Allen, the new popular fighter out of Louisiana. He is the heavy favorite in this one at minus 435, 22 wins, 5 losses, and he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. All in, Brendan Allen, very well-rounded. He is well-rounded, Brendan Allen. He's a good grappler. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's got good power. He's got good stand-up. He's a good fighter and a surging prospect. Not even a surging prospect, a surging, dare I say, contender in the middleweight division. 5 KO TKO, 13 submissions, 4 decisions, 10-2 in the UFC, 5-2 in LFA, 1-0 off Contender Series. Beat Bruno Silva quite handedly, which is good. Bruno Silva's not a bad fighter at all. Oh, excuse me. I knew that was coming, but I didn't have my volume knob handy. So I was like, we're just going to sneeze on stream. My apologies, folks. Beat Andre Muniz, beat Christoph Jotko, beat Jacob Malkoun. Everyone's beaten Sam Alvey, but he was able to outmuscle these big grapplers as well. And again, we'll get back to you guys' comments here, and we'll have some time to interact with you guys before we hang up the gloves here. But no, I love this streak that Brendan Allen is on right now. Lost to Chris Curtis, no shame in that. Lost to Sean Strickland, the champion, no shame in that. And lost to Anthony Hernandez in the LFA and Eric Anders. Like, he's only lost to good opponents. Looking at Paul Craig, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights and defied the odds in his first fight at middleweight in his last fight. He's 35 years of age. He is very much a one-dimensional fighter. He's very much a jiu-jitsu specialist in MMA. I don't like his striking. It's crazy that he has some of the wins that he has against some of the opponents or against some of the names based on his jiu-jitsu. 17-6-1 in his pro MMA career. 9-6-1 in the UFC. 4 KO TKO, 13 submissions. And he's lost 1 decision. He's never won via decision. How can you not love the Bear Jew? And he's been active. He beat Ross Cooper in Holytown Havoc 3 via Darce choke in a grappling match. Also has a win over Andre Muniz in this division. And he beat him via ground and pound in the second round too, which I was losing my shit on stream. I'm pretty sure a reaction clip channel even featured me. Got brutally knocked out by Johnny Walker. Lost to Volkan Ozdemir. Beat Nikita Krylov via triangle choke in the first round, which is a great win. Beat Jamal Hill. Again, triangle choke, and he had him in a triangle choke, and he was just throwing hands from the bottom. A win against an old, Shogun, whatever. Nachukui, good win. Ankalaev. But again, always from the bottom, always on the ground. Now, Paul Craig is like a women's MMA fighter. Flip a coin, man. Flip a freaking coin when it's Paul Craig. Because you can never count out Paul Craig. But I mean, look, if I'm wrong, that's fine. Shout out to the Bear Jew. I'm rooting for you, buddy. But I'm going with Brendan Allen on this one. Minus 435 based on the last performance. I think that's a little much. In like the 260, 250 area, I think that's a little bit more respectful. But yeah, at the end of the day, I hope if Paul Craig wins that some of you make some money off of it. I think this is an awesome matchup. I think this is good for the middleweight division. I think it's a good test for each of them and just the division. I think Allen was banged up in his camp in June, and that's why they weren't able to do the fight then. But regardless, they both look good now. Paul Craig has been active. As I said, he did win in grappling against Ross Cooper. He's a mythical creature right now. Each have beat Muniz. Allen's just more well-rounded. Obviously, Paul Craig is the better grappling, has the better jiu-jitsu, has the more dangerous jiu-jitsu, but Brendan Allen is very, very good on the ground as well. And he's the way better striker. He has way more power. I mean, he's the unreal underdog at plus 330. How can you not sprinkle a little sum on a submission, right? Or like a ground and pound TKO. I think Brendan Allen's a good fighter, and I think he's going to win. I do. I think he's going to win. Now, I hope the Bear Jew, I hope he does his thing. I hope Paul Craig does his thing and earns like a title shot in the middleweight division eventually, like, or gets thrown into the mix. How crazy would that be? But Brendan Allen's going to take this one. That is my pick. Before we get to the safe and degenerate parlay, let's get back to the comments. Thank you guys for your patience. Almost 7K subs now. I know, man. I know. We're getting there. We might hit it by the end of the weekend. This is an interesting matchup. Billy hasn't fought good competition, but has shown wrestling prowess and is being rated as the favorite on the betting sites, Medic by KO. Otherwise, he loses decision. It's crazy that Medic is the underdog. Again, on full camp, I get it, but no. I don't think he's a bum, but I do think Medic will win. Judo versus judo, going Ribas. Judo is my favorite woman in MMA for a very long time. Brazilian women are different. Oops, I meant to say Ribas. Okay, I was wanting judo. This is a trap fight. If I have to pick, I'll go Talbott, but Aguirre could easily out-wrestle him and put on the pressure. That is true. It is. He could just lay on him. Also, I don't think you made an official pick for the Brito versus Pearce. Oh, well, Brito's my pick. Brito's my official pick, locking it in. Hooper generally disappoints me, but I'll keep betting on him. Hooper by decision. Leavitt, tough to bet against. Oh, and by the way, I think Jordan Leavitt talking about how his wife's going to give birth any day. I think that's a mind game. I think the due date's in probably a month. Hooper generally disappoints me, but I'll keep betting on him. Hooper by decision. Leavitt potentially best fighter on the card. Get out of here. I like Matthews, but Morales wins this one. Yeah, I'm the same with that, Mikey P. Griffin made it competitive with Morales. Jake doesn't have a good chance, but he's just too Jake does have a good chance, but he's just too inconsistent, man. Yeah, I agree with both those takes. Big fan of Cray, but no way I'm betting against Brendan Allen. Allen takes this. Mikey P, I agree with all those comments. Same with you, AJs, the last few that you posted there. Brendan Allen is literally 27 years old. That's insane how much potential. The key to beating Allen is pressuring like Curtis and Sean did, which is something Paul Craig doesn't do unless he's going for underhooks to drag you to the ground. Craig honestly could make Allen go to sleep if they go to the ground. Allen is great on the ground, solid jiu-jitsu guy, but I cannot doubt the Scottish savage who has given Magomed and Hill their only losses. Do you think Trajan Gore will be double champ or just trolling? The best dog on this card. Okay, gotcha. I was like, what the hell? No, I love AJ's Trajan Gore double champ. Double champ picture there. It's awesome. AJ's knows his MMA. AJ's is a good guy. Ursa Warrior, what's going on, buddy? Thank you so much for joining. Bro, congratulations for your MMA channel. I see you put a lot of work on this channel. Congratulations again. And I am not Hamza troll. My English is so basic, not my natural language. Hey, no problem, buddy. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your kind words as we end off this stream here. But before we end off, we have two more things to go over. Again, Ursa Warrior, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have our degenerate and safe parlay of the week brought to you by our friend Volcan. Are you excited for Bellator, friend? This is a great card, dude. I am, and we always get a ton of viewership and a ton of people commenting in the live chat for Bellator as well. It's going to be a great card tomorrow. It is absolutely stacked. It is absolutely stacked. If I'm not mistaken, it's the last Bellator card that Showtime is going to be doing. All right, guys. Do you guys want the safe or degenerate parlay first? Let's go with safe. The safe parlay, which, hey, it's hit 2 weeks in a row. We're going with Amanda Ribas, Christian Leroy Duncan, and Mitch Parkin for our safe moneyline parlay of the week. That's right, Amanda Ribas, Christian Leroy Duncan, and Mick Parkin. Bellator for the real ones, especially these last cards that they're just stacking up so that fighters fight out all their contract. We're getting to it. This is it. The degenerate parlay. Paul Craig, Nick Aguirre, and I'm going to have you guys help me pick here, Jake Saragih or Denis Tiuliulin. So Paul Craig, Nick Aguirre, or Jake Saragih or Denis Tiuliulin. Which is the third one we should have? We can't do 4. We got to do 3. For the third option, do we do Jake Saragih or Denis Tiuliulin? Last week? Oh, I don't know, dude. I don't know. You'll have to check. If you check the end of the predictions video, it's up. It's up on the channel. I don't know it off the top of my head. It was a good one, though. It is. I'm visiting my mom and my sister, and I don't want to be a dick. They got to work tomorrow. Jake Matthews? No, Jake Saragih, not Jake Matthews. Jake Saragih, Denis Tiuliulin. This is the degenerate parlay. Jake Matthews is actually not a bad underdog. Between Jake Saragih and Denis Tiuliulin. Let's go all 4 for the super degenerate. Fuck it. You hear that, Vulcan? We're breaking the rules. Let's go. We're going 4. Paul Craig, Nick Aguirre, Jake Saragih, Denis Tiuliulin. That is it for the predictions video, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know your predictions in the comments. Join me for UFC on Saturday. Join me tomorrow for Eris, Bellator, and Saturday Octagon and UFC. Like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you, Mikey P. Thank you, AJs. Thank you, Ursa Warrior. Thank you, JL. Thank you, Sean Cosgrove. Thank you, Hernan. I am whispering not to wake up my house. Thank you, Rigo. And everybody else, Andrew B., everybody else who supports this channel. Appreciate you guys. We will see you tomorrow. You guys are awesome. Like and subscribe. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you on the next one. Good night.